Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to explain the effects of a contractionary monetary policy in an open economy with a flexible exchange rate using the ISLM-IP model. In this presentation, I will focus on how contractionary monetary policy affects output, export, inputs, and net export, and I will explain the adjustment process step by step with reference to the ISLMIP framework. First, let me briefly introduce the model. In an open economy, the IS circle represents equilibrium in the goods market, where investment equals saving. The LM circle represents equilibrium in the money market, where money supply equals money demand. The IP circle, or interest parity condition, shows that the domestic interest rate must be equal to the world interest rate, assuming perfect capital mobility. Because the exchange rate is alone the float freely, it adjusts the ensure that the interest parity condition always holds. Next, let's talk. Next, let us consider the initial situation. Initial, the economic is in equilibrium at point A0, where the IS circle, the initial FM circle, and the IP circle all intersect. At this point, output is at level Y0, the domestic interest rate equals the world interest rate, and the exchange rate is suitable. This is a short-run equilibrium before any policy intervention. Next, suppose the central bank implement a contractionary monetary policy, for example, by reducing the money supply. As a result, the decrease in money supply, the LM circle shift upward or to the left from LM0 to LM1 at the initial level of output. This shift creates upward pressure on the domestic interest rate because money becomes relatively scarce. However, in an open economic with high capital mobility, the domestic interest rate cannot remain above the world interest rate for long because the domestic interest rate temporarily rises above the world interest rate. International investors are attracted to domestic financial assets. This leads to capital inflows into the country. As foreign investors convert foreign currency into domestic currency to purchase domestic assets, the demand for the domestic currency increases. As a result, the domestic currency appreciates. The appreciation of the currency continues until the interest parity condition is restored, meaning the domestic interest rate once again equals the world interest rate. Thus, the equilibrium interest rate is bent down by the IP circle, and the main adjustment occurs through the changes in the exchange rate and output. After this adjustment, the economic reaches a new short-run equilibrium at point E1. At point E1, output has fallen from Y0 to Y1. The interest rate is again equal to the world interest rate, and the exchange rate is higher than before, reflecting an appreciation of the domestic currency. Now, let us explain the effect of this policy on the key macroeconomic variable. First, consider the effect on output. The appreciation of the domestic currency makes domestic goods less competitively in international markets. As a result, net export decline, which reduced aggregate demand. With lower aggregate demand, firms reduce production, leading to a fall in output. Therefore, contractionary monetary policy leads to a decrease in output in an open economy with a flexible exchange rate. Next, consider the effect of exports. When the domestic currency appreciates, domestic goods become more expensive for foreign buyers. This reduced foreign demand for domestically produced goods. As a result, exports decrease. Now, let us look at the effect of import. Currency appreciation makes foreign goods cheaper in terms of domestic currency. Domestic customers and firms therefore increase their purchases of imported goods. As a result, imports increase. Finally, consider the effect of net export, which are defined as export minus imports. Since exports fall and imports rise, net exports decline significantly. This decline in net export is the key transmission canal through which contractionary monetary policy reduced output in an open economy. To summarize the all-over mechanism, a country a contractionary monetary policy shifts the LM circle to the left. This initially raises the domestic interest rate, leading to the capital inflows and currency appreciation. The appreciation reduced exports, increased imports, and the lowers the net export. As a result, aggregate demand and output fall, while the interest rate remains equal to the world interest rate due to interest parity. In conclusion, using the ISLMIP model, we can see that contractionary monetary policy in an open economy with a flexible exchange rate lead to a decrease in output, a fall in exports, an increase in imports, and a decline in net exports. That's the end of my explanation. Thank you very much.